This is the CBS 12 News 5:30 Focus.
They beg for, can I get $1? Can I get $2? Take food off the tables, beg for their leftovers when they're boxing it up. It gets out of hand.
When women come down here, if they come down here with their kids, they feel intimidated, they're scared, and it's going to chase them away, and that doesn't help our business at all.
A homeless crisis in our hometown.
I see Clematis Street as the city's main street. I see our waterfront as our living room, all right? When I was a kid growing up in Wichita, Kansas, child of a teenage mother, when we had company come over, Mama would tell me, get the house clean. We got company coming over. I feel the same way about Clematis Street, our waterfront, our parks.
We have children living in cars. We have veterans sleeping under bridges.
I see the problems here and I report it to them, and nothing gets done.
The problem is clear to shop owners, neighbors, even the homeless themselves, but it feels like nothing's being done.
Give us somewhere to go. That's all we ask for. Just give us somewhere we can go and be safe where we don't have to be in their way.
Mayor Kieth James hosted a roundtable in February where proposals to establish an emergency shelter got a lot of support, including from the mayor himself.
Are you going to pursue that, building an emergency shelter?
Well, I'm going to talk to some partners, whether it's the county, Lord's Place, and see, the city itself can't do it, but certainly with the county, I believe they have funding, and if we get funding from the state, it's certainly something we'd like to. I'm happy to have conversations to explore.
For months, we've worked to get answers about what, if any, progress was being made, but the mayor ignored our questions.
We'd like to find out what you're doing about the funding for this emergency homeless shelter. We've tried to get an interview with you for several days, and you don't return our calls. Have you got any comment about this? Would you please give us just a moment of your time, Mayor, to talk about the homeless problem in West Palm Beach? You said weeks ago you were trying to get funding for an emergency shelter.
Please back off.
Give us an update on that?
Finally, Mayor James sat down with us to talk about the homeless problem in downtown West Palm Beach.
I've been mayor 6 years, going on 7. I've yet to find the silver bullet that cures homelessness.
And that's tonight's 5:30 Focus.
Thank you for joining us. The growing problem of homelessness here in Palm Beach County may be most apparent on Clematis Street and in the city center of West Palm Beach, but it's happening everywhere. Men, women, even families sleeping in their cars on sidewalks or camping in public parks.
After months of reporting and asking questions about what was happening in his city, Mayor James sat down for an exclusive one-on-one interview with CBS 12 News to discuss the current crisis and what the city's doing and what its plans are for the future.
There's many people who would just want us, and I get the emails, who just want us to be able to sweep the homeless off the streets and put them somewhere. They don't know where, they don't say where, but Mayor, just get them off the street because I've got folks who are looking here. I got a tenant that's looking to relocate to this building. They see the homeless and it scares them more. Legally, we can't do that. First of all, it's not humane to just do that, but legally we can't do that.
So we asked, what can the city do? Well, for starters, Mayor James says he's working closely with Police Chief Frank Adderley. They've increased foot and bicycle patrols in the area where the homeless are known to gather. They've installed surveillance cameras, and the city's homeless outreach team is growing and working full time to identify the people who do want help. And Liz, as it turns out, that is no easy task.
No, it's not, Jim. Many of the homeless are wrestling with addiction and mental illness, so they don't just raise their hands and sign up for treatment or shelter beds. And as the I-Team's Mike Magnoli found out when he spent the day with the outreach team, it takes a very special kind of person to connect with those who are living on the streets, to gain their trust and to get them to accept a helping hand.
Very special people doing this work, Liz. It was an eye-opening experience. I learned a lot about the people living on the streets of West Palm Beach and the city employees who are trying every day to help them.
Every day, have you been able to take care of basic needs?
Allie Severino is a supervisor for the city's homeless outreach team. Allie oversees the specialists, that's their official title, who hit the streets, getting to know the men and women that we see on the corners, the folks who have nowhere to go and nothing to their name. Allie's group gets paid with city tax dollars to interview the homeless, connect them to resources, and help in a number of practical ways.
We're here to figure out what is the barrier and what is the solution to that barrier and how can we assist.
When CBS 12 News shadowed Allie and some of her crew, they didn't go to Clematis Street, but they canvassed areas about 10 minutes from downtown. Here, on 14th Street and Spruce, we find a group of homeless resting on the sidewalk. For Allie, there's some familiar faces.
Especially the one sitting on the chair type of thing. I've known her since I started here. But the girl that was on the floor next to her, I had never met before. She says she's been unhoused for many years, but I've never met her. So I did see that she was previously enrolled working with outreach workers in 2022, but nothing for a couple years. So I re-enrolled her, got some more information from her, and maybe we'll be able to help.
The outreach specialists can use their phones to search the database. It's a list of names of the homeless with details about their problems and information about if they've been in any area shelters. I learned to get into a shelter, a person needs to have ID and be a resident of Palm Beach County. And in many cases, a homeless person doesn't have paperwork to prove that. But Allie can get that for them.
We might be the only thing they have. When these people are in the hospital, they're calling the outreach team. When they're having a baby, they're calling the outreach team. When their husband dies, they're calling the outreach team because we're the ones that have been surrounding them for so many years.
At our second stop, near an overpass, I meet Hardin Shannon. He's on the wait list for an area shelter. He says the last time he had a roof over his head was in jail. What possessions do you have, Mr. Shannon? What do you have to your name?
My life.
Have you seen these folks around before? Do you know any of them?
Him.
Yeah.
Mary.
And Mary. Many of our area's homeless population have a special rapport with this homeless outreach specialist, Mary Manuel.
I like talking to people. I like meeting new people. Yeah, and I like helping. It makes me feel good.
But Mary tells me people also have to help themselves, like obeying the rules for staying in a shelter. No drug use, don't get arrested, try to find a job. It sounds simple, but not for the people who are addicted or struggling with mental health issues.
They got to show me too that they put in the effort to help themselves. Yeah, and I help them. You take a step, I take two.
For some, the first step could be walking into this building, the Ava Mack Community Hub on Australian Avenue. It opened in May. Here, the homeless can register with the outreach team to get access to their services.
I know Miss Mary and Miss Abby.
Less than 5 minutes from the facility, we find a tragic example of the city's homeless crisis. On the grounds of the now closed Jerome Golden Center, Crystal, 8 months pregnant, is staying in a tent with her boyfriend.
I've been staying here since Friday, but I've been on the street since August of last year. I got in a domestic violence situation with my ex baby daddy. I've been in the shelters and got out Friday, and they're not seeming to help me with anything.
What do you guys need?
We need a lot of stuff. We need somewhere to put the baby, like I said, toiletries, all that. We need everything.
I asked Crystal if she ever goes downtown to Clematis Street. That's where there's a lot of foot traffic, and the homeless often ask those passing by for change.
No, I don't go down there because of my child. It's too dangerous down there.
There have been fights among the homeless on Clematis Street. Crystal told me that her cousin, who was also homeless, was stabbed over a bicycle in that area. To bring this back to the homeless outreach team, they are working to try to get Crystal into an area motel. These are incredible people with very big hearts, and there's about 10 of them on that team for the city. Jim.
Earlier this year, Governor Ron DeSantis signed a bill making it illegal to sleep or camp on sidewalks, under bridges, or in public parks across Florida. But before that law takes effect in October, the U.S. Supreme Court is expected to make a ruling on a case which could block those rules from going into effect. Mayor James says it's that kind of uncertainty which makes tackling this problem so difficult.
We're kind of in the holding zone. I've heard the mayor of the county say that they are not going to build a shelter. All right. Now, I understand that there's still conversations going on between my staff, county staff, and even representatives of the private sector. So that decision has not been conclusively made. But we as a staff, we as a city, have to make a decision as to which way we're going to go. If the county does have a shelter, what do we do? If the county doesn't have a shelter, what are our protocols? We also are looking very closely at the Supreme Court decision to see what our flexibility is depending upon that. We're expecting that Supreme Court decision to come down. As I said, it could be as soon as July.
But do you feel like we're kicking the can down the road? Because either way, yeah, maybe we have to do something, but maybe we may have to do something. Seems like a kind of a bad way to plan.
Well, yes, it is a bad way to plan, and I wish we had more definitive information so I could plan more definitively. But we can only play with the cards that we are dealt.
If it isn't blocked by the Supreme Court, the new Florida law doesn't stop at requiring the homeless to find somewhere else to sleep. It mandates that cities and counties provide shelter for those people, including round-the-clock security, lights, and working bathrooms. And as Al Peffley reports tonight from Clematis Street, reaching consensus on how to provide those things isn't easy.
Are you worried about this, that we may not be ready by October 1 to house all these people?
Absolutely worried about it. Absolutely worried about it.
After a community-wide task force met in late April, there are plenty of ideas about how to house the homeless once the new law goes into effect. But getting all parties to agree on the way forward is a challenge, and the clock is ticking.
You're saying that we may have to open a shared encampment by the county and municipalities.
What we're saying is that is one option.
One option which does not appeal to County Mayor Maria Sachs.
I don't want to put anybody in a camp. The solution is not to pick people up in buses and bring them out to a big area, a big park, put them in a tent city. I'm not going to do that. Putting people in camps is not going to solve homelessness. It just makes maybe our main thoroughways prettier.
Hundreds of people showed up for a task force meeting this spring on how to manage the homeless population with this deadline looming. They were asked to share their suggestions on sticky notes. The task force wound up with over 1,000. Sorting them was no small task. Among the top ideas, building an encampment and opening more secure parking lots for families and individuals living in their cars. Another popular idea, not directly related to housing, is creating a homeless court.
It is a diversion strategy so that people are not criminalized for being homeless.
A homeless court would handle nonviolent offenses, and instead of sending people to jail, these individuals might be sent to rehab or behavioral health facilities.
The communities around the country that have homeless courts have seen tremendous success.
Safe parking lot programs for people who live in their cars can play a significant role in communities combating homelessness.
Do we have any public comments?
At this Palm Beach County Homeless Advisory Board meeting, school board member Erica Whitfield revealed the county has more than 5,000 homeless students, including hundreds who are living in cars.
And I'm very concerned because not only does it impact their everyday lives, but it's very, very difficult to teach a student who's not having a secure, safe place to live. So we worry a lot about it on many fronts at the school district.
The biggest thing is having a dedicated funding stream.
Dr. James Green, head of the Palm Beach County Community Services Department, points out Miami-Dade County has a food and beverage tax that generates $40 million a year for homeless programs. That kind of money can go a long way.
If we were blessed to be able to do something like that, I think it would make a world of difference.
Other solutions we've heard about include housing the homeless in churches or motel rooms, even using tax money to stop foreclosures or evictions so people don't become homeless in the first place. And while building some kind of tent city may not be popular with everyone, it does meet the requirement of getting the homeless off the street and makes it easier to get them help.
There are lots of things that with encampments could become problems, but the other side of it is an encampment would potentially bring folks together that then the service providers and the community could then surround them with services.
Are you recommending that the county should open an encampment for homeless people?
I'm not. We're not neither recommending or not recommending it. What we're saying is that is an option to look at, and we should do a thorough job of deciding whether it's one of the road we want to take.
And regardless of where the money is coming from or which programs best provide permanent housing, jobs, and stable mental health, the clock is ticking. The county must commit to something soon in order to have a solution in place come October. Live in West Palm Beach, Al Peffley, CBS 12 News.
As Al just pointed out, the clock is ticking. The mayor says what happens in the next few weeks could decide how the city moves forward.
Talk about accountability.
Yeah.
What's the goal here? Where can we be in a year? What kind of progress we can expect to be made? Do you want to go on the record?
Well, I'll go on the record and say that a year from now, we'll know more than we do today, because we will know what the Supreme Court decision is saying. We'll know what the impact of this House bill that was recently signed and how we are adapting to that and how we're dealing with that. And I'm happy to come back a year from now and talk to you about the progress that we've made. Will we have totally eradicated the homeless problem a year from now? I'm not going to say that. Will we have made progress in this battle a year from now? I can predict that we will.
What are the things you would call on for the citizens of West Palm Beach to do to help?
And thank you. That's a very good question. Don't just complain to the mayor. Complain to the county. Complain to your state representatives, and complain to your federal representative. This is not a problem that's just a West Palm Beach problem. It's not a county problem. This is not just a Florida problem. But reach out.
You can watch our entire interview with Mayor James unedited on our website at CBS12.com. You can also find it on our YouTube page.
CBS 12 News will continue to cover this and other important issues shaping our community. To see all of the coverage on the homeless crisis, head to CBS12.com.